Your emotional reactivity and your defensiveness is the reason your wife does not want to be intimate with you. If you're a man who's married with kids and you find that the intimacy in your relationship has dried up, it's time to start questioning where your emotional reactivity and defensiveness is playing a huge part. I remember when my reactivity used to get the better of me, where I couldn't control my tongue. I had to let my wife know my thoughts or shut the conversation down because I didn't want to hear what she had to say. There was no coincidence that the intimacy in our relationship was drying up fast, all the while this was present. And if I hadn't taken it upon myself to change my behaviour and mentality, then my relationship would have been over. And it's time to start to consider this, because we live in a modern Western world where we are told that we have to behave certain ways as a man, and our relationships are 50-50. It's all bullshit, because if it was supposed to be that way, then we wouldn't be in the turmoil that we find ourselves in. One of the fastest things that I changed was the ability to control what came out of my mouth when I was in the presence of my wife. And this doesn't mean suppressing emotions and pretending that they don't exist. I'm not into playing that game. But what it did mean was becoming very wise in the way that I responded and the way that I interacted with my wife. Ultimately, in a relationship, your wife is looking for safety as a key priority. And there was nothing safe about the way that I reacted. There was nothing safe about my defensive tendencies. And ultimately, everything I did pushed my wife further away, all the while I was proclaiming that I wanted our relationship to be stronger. You see, when we take a step back and we start to observe what is going on in our relationship, we can start to see that by making a few little tweaks and changes in the way that we show up, we can completely shift the dynamic in how we interact with our wife, in the energy that gets brought into the relationship, and ultimately the connection that we share and the love and peace that we experience. But it requires change. If I look at the gents that work in my program and ultimately the things that they change in order to get better results and better dynamics in their relationship, it starts with emotional intelligence. It starts with the ability to be aware and observe what is going on in the relationship and ultimately what to do in order to make things more peaceful and harmonious. And that comes through self-control. That comes from holding your tongue in those heated moments when your emotion rises high, but ultimately you know that it'll be destructive if you let it out. When we talk about emotional reactivity and we talk about defensiveness, most men, myself included several years ago, we don't know what it fucking means to have emotional control. We don't know what it means to actually witness our emotional reactivity showing up in the relationship. We've got no clue the things that we do that tear the relationship down because we are defensive. We try to justify and over-explain our position or our opinion in what we want to do or what we want to say. And if we were actually just to stop for a moment and take a step back and look at the unsafe environment that we are creating through the way that we show up, we can ultimately do something different. One of the biggest things that I hear and get pushback on time and time again is women need to be more accountable. And it's ironic because the individuals saying this, they want their wife to be more accountable for their actions, for the way they speak, their tonality, the words that they use. These are also individuals who have no boundaries. These are individuals who can't control their own tongue. These are individuals who have to let their wife know how they feel and prove a point. So all the things that they say they want to see changed in their wife, they're reluctant to change themselves. They're a hypocrite. And I know this because that was me. It was me saying I do everything that I do for my family and my sole intention is to have a good family life. And yet I can continue to behave in a way that pushed my wife further away from me. It's nothing more or nothing less than hypocritical behaviour. So what does emotional reactivity look like? What is it actually displaying as? Are you able to respond instantly as soon as your wife says something or there's an inflection in her tonality or she says a phrase that you just don't agree with? Do you have to respond instantly? Do you have to let her know your feelings? Do you vent? Do you get frustrated with things and just let it all out and blurt it out? These are the emotional reactions that keep your wife in fight or flight mode. Because what you don't understand is you're planting the seed in her mind that this could be something that you direct at her. This could be something that comes her way, and she's going to have to stand up and fight to protect herself from you. So stop and think for a moment. What do you do that is just an unnecessary emotional reaction? What do you say that only is going to draw out conflict in the relationship? That if you just kept it to yourself, because it's unnecessary to share, it brings no value, it brings no peace to the relationship at all. What could you do different? When it comes to being defensive, what are the things that your wife says to you that you have to shut down? What are the things that you have to reject? Did you really say that? Do we have to have this conversation now? Are you really asking me those questions? These are the things that make the big difference. If we're not willing to be open to receive what it is that our wife is conveying to us, then she can never relax and feel safe around us. She will never get off our back. She will never say that she loves you and she appreciates all the hard work that you do. These things will never be present because you're not a safe place for that to be witnessed. You're not a safe place for that to come out. And we have to start to understand that all that we behold inside of us is the power to create or the power to destroy. We can destroy the emotional security in our relationship immediately, or we can create more of it. We just have to align our behavior with the intention that we say we have. But these constant little eruptions, these constant little digs, the shutting down, the being dismissive, the being disrespectful, these are the reasons why your wife can't deal with your reactivity. She can't deal with your defensiveness because you just make her feel unsafe the entire time. This was me. I didn't want to hear what my wife was saying. I wasn't open to hearing her opinion. I denied her experience of life as true and only wanted to accept her if she embodied what was my experience, if she behaved the way that I wanted her to behave. If she responded in a way that I wasn't comfortable with, then I wanted her to change the way she responded. I wasn't accepting of her for who she was. I was accepting of her on the conditions that I set and she had to meet. This is why your wife feels unsafe. This is why she's unable to relax into her femininity, even though you crave her to be more feminine. This is why she can't do it. Because the environment that you create, your emotional reactivity, the defensiveness that you bring, ultimately keeps pushing her away. And you wonder why she doesn't want to be intimate with you. You wonder why she wants to keep her distance and withdrawn. And you get met with, I'm too tired, I'm not in the mood. It's because your behavior and the way you interact doesn't create the reason for her to be in the mood. Your behavior keeps her in a state of fight or flight. No woman wants to be vulnerable and intimate when she feels that way. So I ask you to start considering, what can you do different in your behavior? What can you change? Rather than just continuing to be the way that you are and asking your wife just to deal with it, how can you step into your real masculine essence? How can you be a true gentleman in the way that you operate? Be a savage, but also be kind and compassionate. How do you do that effectively? Because when you start to take accountability and responsibility at that level, you curb your reactivity, you curb your defensiveness, you show up in a way that's safe and open and compassionate for your wife to lean in and relax. The peace and the harmony that you create in your relationship is non-comparable. I'm going to be speaking about these types of topics more frequently, so if you like this, hit the like button, hit subscribe, turn on notifications. And if you're interested to find out if my men's program might be something for you so you can start creating this type of harmony in your marriage and relationship, link in the description will allow you to apply for a call with one of my team members to see if it's a fit. It's time and the era for the gentleman to re-arise. The question is, are you willing to step in and step up? I'll see you on the next video.